You ever just stop and think about the secret history of things you see or use every single day? It turns out there are these incredible stories hiding in plain sight all around us, and today we're going to uncover some of the absolute wildest ones.
And that's really what this is all about, right? Tapping into that natural curiosity we all have. Because let's be honest, the world is just so much more interesting when you know the backstory.
I know, that sounds like the beginning of a really strange joke. But the answer is that they all have these bizarre origin stories that you've probably never heard. And today, we're gonna connect all these seemingly random dots. So let's start with something we all know and love, food. We order it, we eat it, but how often do we actually ask where the names on the menu came from? Okay, first up, deviled eggs. What makes them so, well, deviled? Turns out it's nothing sinister. The name just comes from an old-timey practice where any food that was spicy or zesty was called deviled. The original recipe just mixed the yolk with something spicy like cayenne pepper to give it that little kick.
And what about baked Alaska? You'd think some master chef came up with it, but nope, it was actually invented by a physicist. Back in 1804, a guy named Benjamin Rumford figured out that whipped egg whites are an amazing heat insulator. So he created this dessert where you could stick it in a hot oven, and the ice cream inside would stay perfectly frozen. It's literally a delicious science experiment.
Then you've got stories that are just charmingly simple. Thousand Island dressing? It gets its name from exactly where you'd guess, the Thousand Islands region in New York. And the story goes that a famous actress, May Irwin, was served the dressing, she absolutely loved it, and then she helped make it famous. A little celebrity shout-out goes a long, long way.
But not every story is so clear-cut. Take the Sloppy Joe. That one's a total mystery. Was there a real diner called Sloppy Joe's that invented it? Or is the name just a hilarious nod to the fact that it's physically impossible to eat one without making a huge mess? Honestly, nobody knows for sure.
These surprising names aren't just for food, though. Let's switch gears and jump into the world of music.
Think about one of the biggest, loudest rock bands in history, AC/DC. You'd think their name came from something super intense, right? Nope, it came from the back of a sewing machine. The band members saw the little label for alternating current/direct current and just thought, yeah, that fits. It perfectly captured their high voltage sound.
And speaking of names, how well do you know the real people behind the famous ones? All right, little pop quiz. Take a look at this list. Can you match the stage name on the left to the real name on the right? Go on, I'll give you a second.
So, how do you do? If you connected 50 Cent to Curtis Jackson, you got it. It's kind of crazy how the name that becomes world famous is so different from the one on their birth certificate.
Okay, so we've done food, we've done music, now let's take a little detour into the weirder, darker corners of history. This is where things get really interesting, because fact is often way more terrifying than fiction.
We all know Dracula, the vampire. But the inspiration for that character?
Oh, he was a very real and very, very brutal prince from 15th century Romania named Vlad III. You might know him by his other name, Vlad the Impaler. Yeah, his real-life cruelty was legendary long before anyone wrote a vampire story about him.
And just how brutal was he? Well, Vlad's favorite way of dealing with his enemies was impalement. In one famous case, he created a forest of 20,000 impaled victims just to horrify an invading army. And you know what? It worked. They saw it and just turned around and went home.
Okay, wow. After that little piece of history, let's do a complete 180. We're gonna pivot to something a lot different.
Let me introduce you to Big Tex. He's a 52-foot tall, 6,000-pound talking cowboy, and he is an absolute icon at the State Fair of Texas. But this beloved mascot, he has a secret past that is almost too weird to be true.
So get this, Big Tex did not start his life as a cowboy. He was originally built in 1949 as a giant Santa Claus. The State Fair bought him for only $750, gave him a total makeover, and he made his debut as Big Tex in 1952. A year later, they gave him a voice and a moving jaw, and the rest is Texas history. So, let's just recap. We've gone from spicy eggs to the real Dracula to a giant talking cowboy who used to be Santa Claus. You might be wondering, where in the world did all these incredible random stories come from?
Well, every single fact, every name, and every bizarre backstory we just went through comes from one single place: the Book of Unusual Knowledge. It is just jam-packed with thousands of fascinating little stories just like these, covering pretty much everything you can think of.
And that's really the big takeaway here. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a simple salad dressing, a rock band, and a fair mascot can have stories this cool, what other secrets are just hiding right under our noses in our everyday lives?
The only way to find out is to stay curious and just keep exploring. And hey, if you want to dive into thousands more stories just like the ones we talked about, the link to this book is in the video description.